from Oregon. Manufacturing, timber, where we make something instead of consume. I mean, it shows you eat too much, you get overweight, you become sick, you consume too much. We are a very unhealthy nation. All we're expected to do is consume. We have sent ever so much. We don't produce anything anymore. And so
we do some things,
but not enough, because you know there was a time you did not need a college education to earn a good living. You could go in, if you weren't college bound, you could go into a manufacturing job, it would be the mills, whether it be a lot of other industry. You could raise your family, the blue collar. It's just hardly there anymore.
Well, here, a sign of the times. I lived in Oregon. I worked for a company called the Ballinger Company. His job was, or his company was heavy equipment manufacturing and repair. There was so much of a downturn in the timber industry that he converted and started making a living by shutting down mills. We would go in and restore all of the equipment, make it auction ready, and a lot of this equipment would be purchased and auctioned, shipped overseas.
Which New Zealand, a lot of New Zealand, a lot of Australia. My dad was a jippo logger. I was raised on the Oregon coast, and I saw what happened. And they kept saying, you know, how are you supposed to recreate that revenue off of minimum wage jobs? When minimum wage jobs was a job where it was a stepping stone if you went on to college, not to raise your family. And we have people living in Burger King and McDonald's trying to raise their family. And the problem is, as you said, we have a generation now who thinks that's the way it should be. And they are just getting used to a lower standard of living.
Driving our wages down to that of China.
We are. It's dumbing down. And so,
well, I mean, we've been geared toward the mentality that you have to drive to get wherever you're going to go, and you have to consume, and you have to have a college education, whether or not it's going to get you anywhere, and you have to pay for it.
Yes.
You can't just walk into any land-grant institution just because you were born in your country and born in your state and say, I want to get an education and get...
No, but like you said, there's something wrong when you have... I bet if you did the statistics, there are more people in prison under a certain age level than there are in college. There's something wrong with that.
Well, I would say if you want to know what's wrong with our economy and our government and our jobs market right now, read a book called Perfectly Legal by David K. Johnston. It'll tell you an awful lot about what's happened to our jobs sector.
Oh, well, I said I have experience. I definitely will. I've also read, I mean, there are so many things to take care of. You know, they talk about our school system and where our lunches and our health. And it's like when I was going to school, we cooked food. They cooked food in the cafeteria. I watched what happened as the property taxes went higher, schools were suffering, so Coca-Cola, Pepsi, they moved in and said, hey, Pizza Hut, you carry our brands and we'll give you a revenue back because you guys are suffering. And you just have these, I think everyone in Congress and the Senate needs to come out and pull a year duty of the average American wage earner.
Well,
honestly.
What happened with the property taxes? You know, that's what I think. Remember what Coeur d'Alene used to be like?
Well, remember
you grew up in Priest River. You know, right?
Well, you know what happened was, in Oregon, we finally got a sale or a lottery because that was going to help offset the property taxes, and guess where that went? It did for maybe a little bit, but it goes to supposedly bring in new businesses. But it's all a big farce. No one believes that the lottery funds did not help offset anything. It doesn't help the schools. So
you know what Georgia does?
There's like no trust in the legislature. Oregon has voted down the sales tax 9 times because we do not trust the legislature to do what they're going to do.
William Grider, Who Will Tell the People? You need to read that book.
I know there's so many books all the time.
Georgia, if you graduate high school with a 3.0 GPA or better, you get a free ride to college. You get a 4-year degree, and it's paid for by lottery. That is the right appropriation of funds.
It is. Honestly, and if you...
Anybody who graduates with a 3.0 in Georgia gets a 4-year college education.
And if we redirected the money, I mean, anyone will tell you that the best investment is in yourself.
He works really hard, and he's going to school and taking a break to go back to school because he can't afford to spend money without knowing exactly what he's going to do with his education when he gets out. And even then, what are we offering?
Right.
And you know, I'm not slamming any party. It's not the party, it's the people. There are good people in both parties. It's just gotten so movie star.
Right. Yeah. It's
So
politics.
So do you have a plan? And I have to get up to my float in a minute. I'm with the Lions, but
Yeah.
There's actually quite a few things that we can do, and I'm going to give you a couple of very simple examples. And we need to restore manufacturing. We need to restore jobs in the United States. Our tax code encourages businesses to ship jobs overseas.
I know.
Here's a couple of examples. If a company shuts down a U.S. manufacturing facility and relocates it to any other country, they get to take 100% of that expense and deduct it from their taxes that would have been due that year. In addition, if they move prior to the close of tax year, they have a tax holiday where they don't ever have to pay those taxes until they bring those jobs back onshore. So they're never going to bring them back onshore because
I remember you talking about this on
there are hundreds of examples like that. And it makes sense if you are trying to support the people at the top of the income chain. That makes sense. But if you want to support the working class American, it's the worst possible thing you can do.
We need to focus on quality, because really the quality in American workmanship is here.
And Tom, I have seen your name floating around. I'm so glad I stopped by here. I hope to encourage, and you hopefully have a good campaign plan, because we're all so tired of hearing something that I've learned in sales, which I have been for many, many years, is when you always stay positive even about the competition and just focus on what you can do. This is what I'm doing, and stay transparent with my website. I encourage you guys to follow. Maybe even have a lobby party when there's something that's really good for Idaho, and I'm really sure you're going to win. Invite people to come from the local, come and see how this works, come and be a part, come help. I have wanted to go to Congress and give them a good what for. I wanted to say we belong to the American Party. I'm so ticked off at this. It's not. It's just.
It's issues. It's not party lines.
It is.
Deal with the issues.
It is. And so I hope that that's a good strategy, because not everyone wants to see what their competition is doing. And when you invite people to come, when you're going to be either on the floor presenting a bill, or here's how we do this, and make it really transparent for people to come and see it on your website. This is what I'm doing. Forget about what the other schmuck isn't doing. It's obvious what they're not doing.
Right.
Right.
Well, it should be obvious.
It should be.
20 years later, it should be obvious.
I know. I have to go find my
Yeah, and I need to
phone.
find out where I'm going.
Tell me your name.